Welcome to AkronHipHop.com, where we paint positive images of our people every day. My name is Deborah Calhoun. I teach at Kent State University at the Department of Pan-African Studies. Hey, Hiram, how are you today?
Hey, man, I'm pretty fair for a square. First off, I'm excited.
Okay.
That we have a real scholar in the building, trained, maintained, and often sustained. You from Kent State, huh?
I am.
And tell somebody real quick, what is Pan-African Studies department? What is that? What's going on?
Pan-African Studies, later to be named shortly Africana Studies, is the study of African people from a global perspective, because we are literally all over the world.
Hey, man, I am blessed to got you here. I like you in your Afro hip-hop colors.
All right.
That red and black make it right and exact.
All day.
And I often say we got that knowledge you can't get in college.
Yes.
But guess what? You always correct me. You can get that at your spot.
Everywhere.
Well, hey, talk to us. What are we talking about today?
Today we are going to do a set of things on understanding the Black experience. And I thought to start off our journey the right way, we need to understand why the African-centered analysis. I may refer to my notes from time to time. I have most of my knowledge, but there's always something I'm learning every day. So I'll look at my notes, but I'll talk to you, my Akron audience.
Blackron audience.
The Blackron audience all day.
All right.
So people ask me, and this is from my students to folks in the community, why do you need the African-centered analysis? What's so hot about that you have to always include that? And I say all the time that if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And often that comes at the expense of your humanity. So the African-centered analysis is a point of view that puts African people at the center of discussion. It's almost being the reason why. Rather than other folks talk about you, that is, you talk about yourself. We know that often history is written from the point of view of the victors, and you will find out as we journey together that often those victors thought so less of us. So when we tell it from our particular point of view, we're putting African people at the center and at the heart of the discussion. And I often say it's almost like putting on a pair of glasses. And those glasses can either make your vision 20/20 or it can make you blind-o to bad-o. So we want that vision to be sharp. We want it to be 20/20 vision, focusing from the perspective, from the actions, from the thoughts, from the work of African people themselves. I'll give you a few examples of why this analysis is so important. Often when we find our freedom fighters in our history and in our current day affairs, fighting for justice, fighting for ourselves, fighting for what is right, they often are perceived of and looked at from the point of view of the dominant society. Ida B. Wells, one of my sheroes, when she was active and alive and working on anti-lynching legislation, she was thought to be a pariah. She was thought to be a dangerous woman. She had money and she had a bounty on her head. She was burned out of 2 press houses because she lifted up the problem of lynching that happened after the Civil War. In fact, most lynchings in this country happened not during the Civil War, but after the Civil War as a form of control. Her position was that this attack on the African community was because of our success. If you look at those old photographs of folks who were lynched, they were lynched in business clothes. They weren't hayseed hill jack farmers. They were businessmen and women that had something to do and something to say. Another person, for an example, that I'd like to talk about is Nat Turner. When Nat Turner organized his rebellion, remember, he taught himself to read and write. He taught himself to be literate in the Bible. He taught himself to organize his people who believed that we should not live in slavery but should be free. He scared every white slave owner from Virginia, 100, 200 miles outside of the radius of where he was eventually captured. He was a freedom fighter for our side of the community, but from the slave master's point of view and community, he was dangerous. So dangerous, in fact, that after his rebellion, which was snitched out by someone who was supposed to be in his team, but he wasn't, they took forks, knives, tools, picks from Africans who were under slavery and working because they were that afraid that they might have their throat cut while they sleep. or someone like the Black Lives Matter movement. We just experienced the summer of our discontent, 2020. Now, many people have criticized our young militants and our young lions and lionesses as dangerous, as worrisome, as someone to be labeled as domestic terrorists. But from the African community point of view, we acknowledge those young Turks as being the ones who set the tone and set the stage for bringing to light the racism that was hidden all the time, because we saw that in the George Floyd killing, the absolute inhumanity that that brother was provided, whether he did something wrong or not. So this question of the African-centered analysis puts us at the center of discussion. It puts us as the actors in our history, and it puts us as the ones telling the story. We can even look at and talk about, for example, the criticism that was made that Africa has no history. Africa has no contribution. Africa was the birthplace of humanity. The oldest of the old was found in Central East Africa. Africa had civilization. European society, when they touched Africa, thought Africa had nothing. In fact, I tell my class awesome that if you dig through my trash, you won't find too much. When a European arrived in Africa, they dug through trash. They didn't see the greatness that we were. They didn't see Egypt. They didn't see Canaan Bornu. They didn't see the Nok Society. They didn't see the Yoruba. They didn't see Ghana, Mali, Songhai, Great Zimbabwe, any of those great city-states that we know we have under our belt and have as a lesson for our history of what we can return to again. They thought we never was anything and will never be anything. So the African-centered analysis allows us to tell our story and use our facts and information as the basis of it. The ones who told our story didn't think we were worth anything. In fact, this chattel slavery that we'll talk about in our journey is the worst kind of slavery that humanity has ever known. I tell my students, when you think chattel slavery, think cattle, because that's exactly how they treated us. They thought we were inhuman. They thought we had no souls. They thought we weren't able of any humanity, and therefore they didn't give us any evidence by the way they treated us and how they sought to treat the African as if they were nothing, like as if they were worse than animals. In fact, they thought we were one click above animals in this chain of humanity and of organization. So this African-centered analysis has several components, and I'll go through a couple of them. We'll get to all of them. Don't worry. We'll cover every bit of them as we need to cover. But it's a value judgment and a value difference between people-centered worldview and anti-people-centered worldview. I'll just do 2 or 3 of the dimensions before we finish our journey for today. First, if you talk about the value, the value of worth, what makes you worthy? The European-centered or profit-centered worldview sees us as having a value only by what we got, how much stuff you got. The African-centered worldview, the people-centered worldview, sees one's value as what you give away, what you give and share and do for other people. If you think of the question of life, another value, African-centered worldview sees life as a continuous chain. Once we leave this plane, we go on to the ancestor realm, where our name is spoken and talked about. When I went to South Africa, for example, they still talk about Shaka Zulu. Now, he's been dead since about 1832 or so, but they still talk about Shaka Zulu because they want his presence with them in their midst as they do the work they need to do. For the European profit-centered worldview and point of understanding, life, when it's over, it's over. But for the African, as long as people keep talking about you, you live. In this question of the universe and how we see oneself in the universe, the African-centered worldview understands that we are just a small speck in the journey. That is, our universe, we need to contribute to it and continue to uphold and keep it of value so that it's there for the next generation. The European-centered worldview, the anti-people worldview, talks about the universe as something that is finite, that is to be used as a means to an end, and to heck with trying to leave anything for the next generations. Let me use it up while I can. I think that these values These point of views, these lenses, these critical lenses through which you analyze your world are something that can help you in every day of your existence, every day in understanding your history, every day in interpreting and reading between the lines so that you understand what it is. Are we going to fall for the smoke and mirrors? Are we going to understand our history and reality on our own terms, standing on our own and interpreting for our own? So with that, I think that it is time for me to go. I will say thank you for understanding, for listening to an understanding of the Black experience. Remember to rate, like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell so you get new words and information as AkronHipHop.com drops new videos.
And you're going to be doing this every week, right?
I will try to do this every week if you allow me to be here, sir.
Listen, the great thing is, I allow you to be here. You is hilarious. You
Good.
are Black consciousness here in Blackman, Ohio.
Well, I am only here because I stand on the shoulders of someone behind me.
Hey, man,
I am not here by myself.
I told you was going to end up looking at me.
I know.
Hey, listen, real quick, man. So the next time you come down, you're going to continue this conversation, and we appreciate it on behalf of Mecca Media Entertainment, AfricanHipHop.com, and the ReporterNewspaperOnline.com. We want to thank you very much and see you next time. Have some fun and get something done.
Absolutely. Thank you.